Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today are Louis D'Souza and Anne-Marie Young. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Indeed we are, and we are wishing anybody who is listening from the U.S. a happy Labor Day weekend, because that's what we're celebrating here in the U.S. It's Labor Day weekend, which in the U.S. that's sort of the it's the symbolic end of summer. At least in theory, that's the way it's supposed to be. In practice, it depends on where you live, but in theory, that's where it's supposed to be. It certainly is working out that way where we live here in New England. And in fact, we were talking before we got going here, and Anne-Marie, just as you're facing a whole bunch of rain, we're facing a whole bunch of rain, which means there are a whole bunch of barbecues that are going to get rained out. So if your barbecue got rained out, well, listen to the podcast. You know, hey, right? We'll give you something to do. That's not quite the same thing, but hopefully it'll help. And we were also talking, Louis, you were telling a rather interesting story about how rain could be an issue in South Africa before we got started. And it was an issue not because of the nature, but because of the humans, which is not a story you hear very often.
Yeah. When I was young and lived on the side of the mountain in South Africa, the farmers, the tobacco farmers, used to pay a company to fly over the huge rain clouds and spray them first with silver iodide, which they discovered was a bit poisonous, so they changed to dry ice afterwards. And this would disperse the clouds, and we'd stand there watching these huge storms roll in, and then hear the planes go over, and then everything be dispersed. And this happened time and time again. It was very frustrating because everybody wanted rain and wanted water, but these tobacco farmers that completely captured everything. It was the storms in South Africa are like really, really huge, and we used to stand at night from our bedroom window and just look out, and you'd see this incredible sheet lightning strike the whole valley and light up the whole valley like it was daytime. And then you'd have the zigzag lightning hitting different targets along the way. And once my sister and I were standing out there waiting for the storm to roll in, and the lightning was struck very close to us, to one of our power pylons. And the electric shock in the ground made our muscles twitch, and both of us fell down on the ground.
Wow.
So that's
pretty close.
I've got to being struck by lightning, but it was interesting that the muscular effect of the lightning at a distance.
Oh, sure.
I had never heard of that before, but I experienced it.
Well, it's one way to find out about it, to experience it. The rest of us, I think, would rather just hear about it.
Yeah. But we loved watching the storms come in, and you see all these people in the UK. There's just a little bit of thunder or lightning, and they're crawling under the tables and under the sheets. You're like, this is not a storm. You have no idea what a storm is.
We had my little one in bed.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, we had my little one in bed last night because we had a thunderstorm and lightning, and she was scared, and literally just took her to the window. Let's watch it.
Well, I was just going to say, not everybody in the UK is afraid, because you were telling us how you were loving rain when it comes through.
Yeah, it's not exactly a storm. We haven't got the thunder and lightning, but I'm used to that now. But yeah, I love listening to the rain. I was just sat downstairs listening to it for 20 minutes, just chilling out. I just find it so therapeutic. I just love it.
It can be meditative.
It is very, very therapeutic. The thing about South Africa and where I was brought up again was we had corrugated iron roofs, so we really heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be loud.
I love it when you go.
Yeah.
I love it when you go camping and you can hear it on the tent.
Yeah.
You feel all cozy. It's great.
Just as long as you don't have a hole in the tent.
That would, yeah. We've been camping and we've been blown down.
Yes.
I'll tell you another story of when I was camping. I was just one friend of mine, a Durban friend, and we climbed up the big mountains in South Africa, the Drakensberg Mountains, or the Dragon Mountains. And we'd camped at the top, and as we were coming down the gorge, I said to my friend, we need to set up the bivvy. He said, what do you mean? I said, we need to set up the bivvy. He said, what for? I said, I don't know, but we've got to set up the bivvy. So I set up the bivvy, and he was just looking at me, standing and looking at me, shaking his head. And so I struck the bivvy at like a 45-degree angle, and I put it against some trees, and there wasn't much there. There was a river running past. And then suddenly we had this hail absolutely pelting down, golf ball size. And we were both crawled under the bivvy, and we were sitting there, and it was amazing because this thing was so hard that 2 of the stones came through the bivvy, completely broke through.
Wow.
And we were scared as nothing because there was nothing to protect us anywhere. There was nowhere, for miles, any shelter in any shape or form. This was just a couple of sticks, trees around the place. And the thing that absolutely fascinated me, he never talked about it again. He never discussed it. He never said it was a wow. He never said anything. He just blanked it out. That was the end of it. The whole scenario, the whole experience was something I don't know if he ever told anybody again, but I never heard him mention it to anybody, anywhere, anytime. It was just freaky.
I'm confused about something because a bivvy, as I understand it, is like a tent, but this sounds like it was a hard shell of some kind.
Yeah, it was really a tarpaulin, to be honest. It was just a tarpaulin. So we had a tent, we were up there, and we actually slept in a cave. But, we carried up a small tent that had a ground sheet. So it was the ground sheet we actually tied up. And in the army, that kind of ground sheet was what we called a bivvy, but, it's really an army term.
I'm just amazed you could deflect the hail. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage I had when I did it is I kind of put it at a 45-degree angle. And I think that's what helped the most. And where it wasn't a 45-degree angle, that's where the 2 stones came through.
Right.
But of course they were massively reduced in the impact, even those 2, but still it was scary as hell.
I'm sure.
I was thinking, what would I have done? I would have gone into the stream and put my backpack above my head and hid in the water. But you would have been black and blue after that. It would have been absolutely devastating.
So what do you attribute it to? Do you actually feel like you were getting an internal message from source or something? Or why do you think you got that idea?
Walt, I've had a few of these experiences along the way, and I can't really answer that. I can only say I got an idea to do this, a strong one, and I was not to disobey it. It was the weirdest thing because I've never had anything like this happen before or again when I was hiking. It was a one-off, and I'm just glad I did it. That's all I can say.
I'm sure, yeah. But you also said, apparently it's not completely a one-off because you have said just now that it's happened.
Yeah, one-off when I was hiking, I meant. Yeah.
So, but what are some of the other occasions where you've had something like that and you just went with it like, whoa, I'm so glad I did that?
So the other one I've mentioned before on the program once, I think. So I was living in a communal type house with young professionals in Durban in South Africa. And, I was going to sleep now. I had a bunk bed that was high up. And you literally had to climb up a ladder to get up there. And it was my own room. It was separate from the house. And, I was lying fast asleep, and then suddenly I woke up, and there's this huge question in my head. What would you do if somebody breaks into your room? It's like, what? And I just tried to ignore it and go back to sleep, but it would not allow me to go back to sleep until I'd answered the question. And I'd heard on a spiritual seminar, not too distant future before that, the guy was saying when somebody broke in, he shouted with the shout of spirit. So I said, I will shout. And as soon as I did that, I was allowed to go back to sleep, and I went back to sleep. And I don't know how much longer after that, but the light in my room went on, and I was like, what? And then I see this guy with a stocking over his head wandering around my room, sees my wallet, picks it up. And as I look over the little lip of the bed and I'm seeing all this, I'm absolutely frozen in terror. I was absolutely shocked. And then immediately I thought, I will shout. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm got my head over the side and I just go, it's this incredible shout. And this guy literally goes white under the mask because my head is about this far away from him, and he just bolts out there. I was like shocked to hell I'm gone black. He didn't know that, somebody was sleeping up there or even watching him, and the sound was scary. So, after that, I climb down and I go see where he's gone, and I knock on the other guy's doors in the place and I say, "Hey, why didn't you come when I shout?" The guy said, "With a shout like that, I wasn't going anywhere." It was very funny, very funny.
Oh, wow.
Well, you found out you could really shout. That's something.
Yeah. It was fascinating. I mean, the sound that came out of my mouth even scared me, to be honest.
But the fact you could do that
It
when
was
you're frozen in
blood-curdling.
terror.
Exactly. But the only reason I could do that is because I pre-prepped.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was because my
amazing.
higher self knew this was going to happen and woke me up. I have perceived it was my higher self.
See, that sounds like a source connection to me.
Absolutely. I mean, but I don't want to put labels on it. I'll just tell people what it is. I don't want to.
Yes, it's definitely a source connection, but I'm not going to call it that.
No, I'll let you make your own decision. This is what happened to me. You make your own decisions.
Okay, that's fair enough. You will warn us the next time that there's something coming up, just in case. I mean, because we'd like to be prepared too, if possible.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was missing that. I don't quite understand what you're getting.
Oh, I mean, like
Just don't shout in our ears.
Well, that was,
did I shout?
No. But I'm saying, if anything like this comes up, give us a heads up so that we know it to be,
No.
forewarned.
I want you to experience the raw power of the spirit.
Oh my goodness! How old were you when that happened?
So I'd been to the army, so I left school at 18, 19, 20. So I was about 21, 22 when it happened.
Which kind of fits because, I mean, you've told a lot of your stories over the years that you've been on the podcast, particularly regarding health and all the things you were trying to learn about health, as well as the main question you were always trying to answer, which was, why the heck am I here? And in the course of asking those questions, you were probably doing a whole lot of work to connect to source. So it kind of makes sense that you would have enough connection there to get that kind of messaging.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably a few years into starting a new spiritual path, which was going very, very well for me. And, so I was doing a lot of focus on out of body, connection, meditation, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was probably quite a strong connection, but I think right from birth, there was a strong connection, but it's just continued.
Well, most people, well, I shouldn't say most people, I don't know for a fact. Most of the people that I've asked about this kind of thing will tell me that they probably had it when they were born, but then they kind of lost it in somewhere like 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 year range, something like that. And then later on in life, they work to get it back. So when you're saying you kept it all along, that's fairly significant. I haven't heard that story too often.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I put it down to is the prime and only real drive that I've had in my life was to know why I'm here, and that drive automatically sends you to the source concept. If you like it or not, if you want it or not, if you agree with it or not, you land up getting driven in that area, in that direction.
Right.
And you start looking at aspects of non-physical and weird and wonderful things, which is exciting. I mean, it's the most exciting journey of my life is my spiritual one, bar none, which makes sense in a sense. In that room, what else happened? Oh, yes, those out-of-body experiences, which the first ones I ever had were there.
Well, that same place. Okay.
In that high bed,
Yeah.
my first experience was I found myself floating head first straight down to the floor in that room. And then I was saying as I was going down, I hope to God I'm not in my physical body.
I remember you telling that story too. That's great.
And then I slipped around the corner and there was my bicycle there, and the reflectors were so bright in the astral that I got such a shock. I went straight back in my body. My heart was pounding and I was sitting up. I was like, what the heck just happened? But yeah, so a lot of things happen in that home. Loads of things. But, I was there probably for 4 years or 5 years. I started Kung Fu in there. I started my university studies. I started, Tai Chi when I was in there.
That was a pretty significant time in your life then. A lot of stuff going on.
Those crystal story I like telling was in that room.
Okay.
I bought all these crystals. Everybody in the New Age profession said crystals were the thing to do. I'd tried them all. I'd meditated with them. I'd played with them. Nothing. So these are all rubbish. Give them one last try. Put them all under my pillow for the night. And I had these most color-driven dreams I've ever had in my life. Colors I've never even seen before. They were so vivid, absolutely stunningly vivid. I was so shocked. I woke up and I took all my crystals and buried them in my garden.
Got a little more data than you wanted. Okay.
I remember being scared to even dig them out again.
I love it.
But from that day on, my respect for crystals changed.
Yeah. Well, I would think, with an experience like that, I think everybody would have that kind of change of heart, shall we say. Anne-Marie, has your experience growing up and so forth been the typical experience where you probably did come in with a connection to source but kind of lost it over time, or did you have anything similar to Louis?
I think mine I kind of lost. I think I still had what they call like supernatural things like happening and going on because I believed in it. But yeah, the whole connection to source came back sort of in later life for sure. But I can remember sort of, just as Louis was talking, I remember having this connection with my old cat, and she hated everybody. She was a very old cat and she was a rescue, and we just seemed to communicate all the time. And I remember one day she went out and she didn't come home that evening, and that was very unlike her. And I was asleep and it was 3:00 in the morning, but I just remember hearing the loudest meow. Literally, it was like vibrating in the room. It wasn't just like the cat was in the room. So I went to my spare bedroom and there she was sat upstairs on the windowsill. She was obviously calling me to get in. She'd obviously got that connection while I was in my sleep state. And and then just having conversations. And I remember when she died, I remember her feeling her jump up on the bed and cuddle into me like she always used to. And it's only that one time, but just after she went. So all that reassurance. So it kind of was gone. All this, the stuff I believed in was still there, but the actual connection to source, I didn't learn more about until I was older.
So where did you feel like you kind of lost it? And what do you think changed to get it back?
I think it just lost as you receive your parents' beliefs and having somebody who, my mother had mental health. So growing up in that kind of state in the house, everything was a lower vibration. So I just didn't know about it. And I'd say it was literally, like I said, in the last 6 years, I've learned to feel that again. And learn about it and experience it and embrace it. And now I'm a true believer like Father Christmas.
Cool. I like that.
I believe.
I'm thinking about.
I've had so many conversations about belief recently. It's been a lot of fun.
Anything you care to share?
Are they sauna stories?
I was in the sauna the other day.
There we go. I
know and this guy was, talking about beliefs. So I tried to break down belief for him, and I said, the way I look at it is the thought you think of, and what do you think of that? And he was saying, no, it's not. It's much more than that. I think it's this. So you think. Isn't that a thought? And he was saying all these words, which I said, isn't that a thought? Isn't that a thought? And he was going, but it was fun because, that I think I told the story the other week is he was the guy who got a little bit frustrated. So I said to him, you believe this and that's great. And I'm allowing you to believe that and it's fine and it's all right. But can you allow me to believe what I believe and be okay with that too? And he was like trying to get his head around that. And he said, yeah. Okay. And then the whole energy in the room completely shifted and he, continued with a nice conversation. But, it's interesting when you're sitting down with people and you watch their heckles rise, and then you can take those heckles and just, fluff them down and make them smooth again. And then you can rise them up again, and you can play with that kind of, when you become very aware after a while, you can kind of see the whole game going on. And because you're not caught up in it and you're not worried about it, you can just let it all flow.
Yeah, like getting caught up on it is actually where we get trapped into falling into that lower vibe zone Anne-Marie was talking about. It was reminding me, Anne-Marie, when you said that, of my own childhood, and I'm trying to place exactly where it all happened. I'm going to say the typical years, somewhere between 4 and 8, somewhere in that range. I found myself dwelling a lot on all the things that seemed to be wrong, and I didn't understand why they were wrong. That was like the perpetual question. Louis' perpetual question was, why am I here? My perpetual question is, why is everything so messed up? And of course, the more that I explored that question, the more that I, of course, drove myself away from my own source connection. So I can kind of, I mean, as I look back, I can kind of see, so to speak, or I can kind of feel, that's probably a better way of saying it. I can feel where a transition took place. I don't have a really clear memory of what my source connection was like before that happened. I have like little glimpses of it. And I don't have anything more clear than that. So that's why I'm intrigued by the stories you guys tell, Louis, about how you never really lost it at all, and Anne-Marie, how you kind of lost it and regained it.
Well, yeah, it's difficult to say I never lost it. You know, I wasn't fully aware that I ever had it when I was young. Didn't know there was something to lose. You know, it's such a varied journey at every stage in your life. It's so different. You know that saying, you know, in my past life, I was an IT person. In my past life, you know, you really feel like it was a past life.
You do. Yeah. After a while.
Even though I do talk a lot about past lives.
Well, in a sense, I mean, all these, I guess you could call them eras of our lives, or little sections of our lives, you know, subdivisions, whatever you want to call them. They do seem to be discrete. I mean, there was the time that you're in school, and then if you go to university, there's time when you're in university, and then there's that chunk of time when you're, you know, 20s or 30s or something like that. We divide our lifetimes up into those chunks, and they usually get associated with, like in the case of your bunk bed, you're in a particular location, and there's associations with that location and the various paths that you start to pursue in that location. That's the kind of thing we tend to associate with the eras of our lives. So yeah, it makes total sense that we would say, well, that's a past life. In a sense, it was. Even if it was the same lifetime, it's still, in a sense, it was different because the location was different, the thought pattern was different, the friends were different, the events were different. They were a different grouping.
I like looking back and just sort of reviewing my life, knowing what I know now. And when my first daughter was born, I just felt the most amazing love that I'd never felt before. And I'd say that was like one of my most abundant times. Got promoted, got money, promotions, this, you know, it was just, everything was going wonderful. And it was obviously because I was in that love state. Not that I don't love them anymore, but just that first couple of years where it's just so precious.
So Anne-Marie,
so now I know what I know. No, I'm not having another kid.
You caught on quick, well then.
Too old, too tired, not doing it.
That was a long conversation, gone real short. But you still have the ability to look back and relive and refeel what the experience was like when you did go through it. And you can always.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like that now. I feel like it now, but just when, you know, when you go and look and, like you say, you look at these chunks in your time and just like looking back and going, that's why it was such an amazing time, because I was on such a high that I was just attracting everything, but I didn't know that at the time. But when you look back, it's quite interesting. And then, you know, there's times
it's quite
where
obvious after a while.
Yeah. And then times where I've just been, I'll hope for the worst, and if anything better, I'll take. That's why you're attracting all the crap stuff, you know, so I don't do that anymore.
So what do you do now?
Me, I question, if I feel myself like feeling a bit grumpy, I will just question it. And I will find stuff that I appreciate.
What would Louis do?
Louis wouldn't get there. Yeah, without me, this literally would be. But I do. I pull it on the lessons that you've taught me. I do. I look for what can I appreciate at this current moment? What can I appreciate at this time? I appreciate all my lovely clothes that are here, my shoes that are behind me, and I appreciate my kids and I appreciate my family. And then I also think, well, what can I do about it? And take myself to the present moment. There's nothing I can do about this now. I'm in this moment. I'm safe. I'm talking to people I like. I'm warm. I'm listening to the beautiful rain behind me. So I just bring myself into the present and not worry about the future.
I'm thinking maybe I'll get myself a Post-it note and I'll put WWLD on it and post it right where I can see it. What would Louis do?
We should all get T-shirts.
WWLD.
We're reading the live stream comments, guys. Our friend from South Africa,
Maria says Louis would go to the sauna. Yes. Absolutely true, Maria. And then
you know how therapeutic that is. If you go to the sauna with even a few aches in the body or anything, or joints that are not so great, or thoughts that aren't so great, you come out just feeling on top of the world. Sauna and then plunge pool, sauna, plunge pool, and you're shocked out of almost anything, whatever you are. You're shocked out.
Of course, you have a very positive association there too. That helps.
I do have a very positive association.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people I hear, actually it's a very peripheral now. I hardly hear it at all, but I used to hear a lot. Oh, this is broken in the club. This is broken in the club. That's broken in the sauna. That's broken in, this steam room's not working, etc. There's this huge amethyst in one of our steam rooms, and somebody went in there and just broke it all. You got this beautiful, massive one. It's about half the size of us. And somebody went in there and just broke it out and then threw it on the floor. And then they put it back again more solidly. And then they broke that too. Now they've got some armored glass plating on the side of it. And all the rest. And it's remained.
Yeah. Well,
but these people are always complaining and now I hardly ever experience that. People that are coming to me are wanting to talk about completely other things. And, it's just a lot of fun. There's a lady who I want to get on the show who was there on Thursday, and she still wants to come on the show, but I need that link again from you, Walt, the one where you've got your diary and where we can fit people in.
Yeah, sure. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you can win that to me again, I'll send it to Sabina. And, I've always wanted to get somebody who's in the sauna to say that I actually go there and I talk to people.
I want actual validation. I just sent you a link via our private chat, so you can pick it up there.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks. Yeah. So what else is happening in your life, Walt? You've got all these hosts that you've been having. Have you had any great hosts that you wanted to talk about?
The guests and co-hosts? Well, yeah, all my co-hosts are great. That's for sure. And
I'm not the guests. Yeah.
But the guests have been great too. We've had really good guests on lately. And
we had a good one last Monday.
Yeah. We had one who was going to be on today who was really great. He had to postpone, but this guy is going to be really interesting. I'm going to see if I can get him back for a Monday again. I think you in particular will like this guy. His name is Neil Cannon. But yes, the guests really have been very, very good lately. To the point where, it's not like the old format where we would just get on the three of us and just, do a show together. Now we're bringing on a new personality every time, but I'm liking it because we're getting such great personalities, people who really contribute some fabulous perspectives. So it almost,
I always love that new energy.
Yeah, me too. I love it a lot. So yeah, it's been good. As for my own life, I think most people know, we're in the midst of the gardening season, which is it's got about a month and a half, 2 months left. We actually reached a point about a week ago where the amount of business we had was really, really minimal. We were down to about 2 days worth of work, which is really small for us. I was getting a little nervous about that. I was getting a lot nervous about that, to be honest. Then Louise and I just went to the beach to get away because I needed to shake the energy up. And when we got back last week, we went to the beach. When we got back, phone started to ring, and went to the beach this past weekend. Phone's been ringing since then. We're now booked 2.5 weeks out. So that's the good news. Things have turned around because we changed the energy, which was a good thing because my energy was going in the wrong direction. Let's just be perfectly honest about that. It was going in the wrong direction, but took the steps you have to take in order to turn it around, and it turned around. Plus, it got me. There's actually, you like to point out, Louis, how whenever there's something that happens that you don't like, that's a good thing because it stimulates you to, want new.
It's an expansion point, not
an expansion point, right? And in this case, that was also true. It was an expansion point in that it kind of reminded me of some projects I hadn't been pursuing. I kind of let them go. And I returned to them because I said, well, hey, I got to, if this income goes away, I got to replace it. I got to get another income stream going, which I really needed to do anyway. And it got me thinking about these other ideas I had previously. So I've been taking steps along those lines. So it did serve a very useful purpose to have the business seemingly start to go away and then come back. As long as it came back, I'm happy with that. It's like I said to Louise, I need income to feel good. Don't give me this other stuff.
Money can buy me love.
Yeah, right. But it does pay the bills.
But it does pay the bills. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So, yeah, more downtime sounds good. More things that you're doing that you love.
Yeah. It's more things that I was doing that I would love, and it was taking my mind off of the stuff that I kept focusing on that was setting me up wrong. I was replacing all that with just being in the moment, looking at the water and looking at the people at the beach and just staying there, staying in that place. And that is one of my favorite ways. I mean, whether it's at the beach or anywhere else, it's one of my favorite ways to stop a pattern I don't like. Just stay in the now on something I like. It doesn't have to be anything productive. It doesn't have to be anything unusual. It just has to be something I can focus on that feels good to me. It's the best method I know of. Haven't found a better one anyway. I've had some good ones recommended to me. It's not like I haven't had any input, plenty of input. You get enough guests on the show, you get lots of input, but that's the one that works the best for me.
Yeah, I've always found that you just take the life's philosophy, just break it down to its absolute simplest form, which boils down to largely thought and vibration. And then if you pack everything into that and then bring it back out to the solution, it works very well because you kind of need to get to that simplicity to help the complexity. And it's just the way it works in life. So it's contrasting teacher.
We kind of talked about that. I was a guest on a podcast with somebody who was a guest on our show. She was on about 2 or 3 months ago. Her name's Karen Timer, and I was a guest on her show last week. And that was something we talked about, exactly that point. The way we were discussing it was a little bit different. We were kind of approaching it from the perspective of, well, I mean, it was toward the end of her show, and she asked me, do you have last words for the audience? Like, what are you going to say for last words? I don't know. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was have fun. And if you can't reach have fun, feel better. And that became like a last conversation point because really that is, to me, that is that simplest approach, to use what you were just describing. That's the easiest way. Just find a way to feel better. It doesn't really matter what it is.
But it really helps. I mean, I know all of us on here know this, but it really helps people to understand that the whole concept of emotional guidance, because it's so clear in our mind what you've said, there's a background, there's a philosophy to it, there's the whole emotional guidance, the guidance scale, how it all works. It's sitting there as a base for you to be able to jump to, this is how it is with its simplicity. And it really helps to have the underlying or the background understanding of how life works with greater and greater clarity. Then getting into different situations becomes easier and easier and easier. And that's what I love. I'd really, if anybody wants to test their philosophy, I will sit and chat to you. Open invitation to anybody. If you want to test your belief structure, speak to me.
I agree with you that having the background understanding makes a huge difference. I will take a little bit of issue with the emotional guidance scale. Not that I think it's wrong or bad or anything like that. It's just, I think it's overdoing it. It's not simple enough. The simplicity is
when it feels bad, turn around, go the other way, and when it feels good,
that's yeah. And rather than
That's complicated.
Well, that's the less complex. The more complex one is, well, you're feeling anger. Can you go move up to irritated? Like, no, that's too slice and dicey for me. No.
Yeah, but if you don't understand that, then you try go from sad to happy, and you don't understand that you can't do that. There's a vibrational gap too great.
So that's why I take the words out.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Take the words out.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
When I start trying to think in terms of how am I feeling right now? Well, I'm feeling, overwhelmed. Okay. Well, can you aim for frustrated? Well, I don't know. Is that higher? Maybe, kind of. That all of a sudden I get lost in the words. But if I can just aim for feeling better, better I can go for. That's fairly easy. I know where I'm feeling right now. Probably almost anything would feel better at this point, so I can aim for that.
Mm-hmm.
But you asked me to aim for bored, like. No, that's not happening.
But sometimes I long for bored.
Yeah, sometimes it brings relief and release, doesn't it?
It does.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. When you're bored, what do you aim for at that point? I'm just curious.
Sleep.
I don't care, I suppose.
I don't care.
I like the I don't care one. I think it's that pivot point one between negative and positive.
And that is kind of neutral.
To me, it's a really powerful one. What did my mentor once say to me? Oh yes, those 3 words. So powerful. Perhaps, maybe, and sometime. Are you enlightened? Perhaps, maybe, sometimes. Are you stupid? Perhaps, maybe, sometimes. Are you? And I was like, wow, these are powerful words. They're very true.
Well, they're non-committal. And when you don't commit to anything, it's easier.
It's that don't care area.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
It really left her. I mean, she didn't do it on purpose or anything. It was just, I think I asked her how old she was, and she said, something in those veins that I don't, perhaps maybe sometimes, but it was in the lines of, I'm older than my teeth and I'm as old as this,
mm-hmm.
younger than that. You've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
But something jumped out at me. Those 3 words are very, very powerful. Somebody says to me, wow, great game. Excellent. And I say, well, perhaps, maybe sometime.
Life of the party there.
And, it can get you out of a lot of trouble as well. It's very powerful from that perspective.
Yeah, I can see that.
But on the whole, it's not overly positive. But it can be going up the scale. Can be used as a tool. It's going up the scale.
Anne-Marie, you started to say something, and I don't know if you remember what it was you were starting to say.
Bizarrely, I do for once. What I was going to say is what I've noticed is that I just capture the joy a lot more. And whereas before I was at a concert at the weekend, and it just felt amazing. It was a tribute concert, and it just felt full of love. It just felt like a very different concert to normal. It was just a really beautiful experience, but everybody's recording it on their phones. And that's something I used to do, but now I just stood there and I just looking around and I was just sucking it all in. So rather than trying to capture it somewhere electronic, I was capturing it here and here and just noticing it so much more and just feeling it and just getting a different perspective than I would have done 10 years ago.
So what's the philosophy? If you broke what you've just said you did as a technique.
If you break it down.
Yeah.
I'll
just tell you what I'm thinking. Okay,
go for it.
Carry on.
No, I was just going to say it's just bring yourself back to the present and feel it, breathe it, enjoy it, love it.
So what you're taking is a higher vibration experience and you're milking it. So you're saying, this is great and I want it to last longer, so I'm going to focus on it a little bit more. So once I've got past 14 seconds, the universal law of attraction is going to bring more happiness, more joy, more people, more excitement, more fun, and it's going to get incredible!
I love that.
Rampage of appreciation is another way of looking at it. But what you're doing is you're just taking something that's really nice for you and milking it.
I find it interesting that you were doing a different kind of recording. Like you said, everybody around you was recording with their phones, but you were recording with your being.
Yeah, it's what I call an emotional Polaroid.
I don't know if you guys do
snapshotting those feelings.
Yeah, because what I do is if I ever want to remember something and I don't have a camera, I literally imprint it in my brain. I say, I'm going to remember this and I'm going to focus on it clearly and I'm going to sit there and just visualize it even afterwards. So I look at the image, I close my eyes and I just paint this picture clearly in my mind. And then I stuck it in the straw and I know that I'm going to be able to go back and retrieve it anyway, anytime. And I've noticed I've done that quite often in my life, but I've never really talked about it. I don't know if you guys have done anything similar. You want to capture a moment with your mind's eye, I suppose.
I don't quite capture it the way you describe, simply because I don't do a great job at capturing image per se. But I do capture memories. I capture experiences. I'm not sure exactly if I could describe what the mode of storage is. What is it? Image? Is it sound? Or is it whatever else? But I remember the event. I remember the experience of it. And the reason I mention that is I find that I access those memories a lot more often than I access things on my phone. I have photos and videos on my phone that I'm pretty sure I've never looked at since they were taken. But stuff that I experience, I'll go back to it over and over and over again. So that's why I was remarking, Anne-Marie, you were doing a kind of recording that was recording on your being, because I think that's actually the more important recording, because it's the one we use more often.
Yeah. And there's definitely sort of snapshots throughout my life that are just so vivid. There's one like many, many years ago, just literally I was driving to a client's house, but I was in the countryside. It was a beautiful day. I could still feel the sun on my face, and it just felt like today was a good day to be alive. It was just beautiful. And I'm there so easily. And it's just taken more of those, like I say, emotional Polaroids. It just takes you back a lot quicker.
It's a good term. I like that. Emotional Polaroid. Yeah.
Anne-Marie, I was just starting the law of attraction journey. And I was really sitting in my car, driving along, really focusing. Oh, everything's going to be really great, and I'm enjoying it. And then I looked in the rearview mirror, and this car was close behind me. And I saw the guy in the car, and I said, he looks really interesting. I'd love to meet him. 2 seconds later, bang, into the back of my car. Oops. I got out, and I got to meet him, and he was not friendly at all. He didn't want to meet me.
This, of course, falls into the category of be careful what you wish for. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to change the subject slightly to power and the price hike and how everybody's dealing with it. I suppose it's a very topical topic at the moment. How do you guys feel, or are you guys feeling the increase, or is it not so stark in America, or I don't know? I mean, here it's massive.
Yeah.
I saw a post about that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we've moved to this house, and this house is a lot more expensive than our previous house. And obviously all the bills are going up, and my husband's contract finishes at the end of the year. So, and obviously we've just had the summer holidays, and I've been like, oh, can we afford to spend? And then but my view just literally changed. It was like, okay, if I spend it, I'm going to create the space for more. So I was trying not to focus on that. And then literally my husband's boss spoke to him and said, we're going to promote you for the next few months. Quite a substantial promotion. So I was like, great, we've broken even now. And so now I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about the contract ending at the end of the year. I'm just going to visualize it going forward. And I'm just literally trying to, rather than when I do go into that panic, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I do go into that panic and I'm just like, no, because that's not going to help me. So I just play with things and focus. So yeah, that's how I'm trying to cope with it.
I saw a post on LinkedIn, I think it was. Not that I spend a lot of time there. I don't. I just happened to see it as I was making a connection with somebody who wanted to come onto the podcast, funnily enough. And the post was basically a guy bemoaning all of this increase in cost, where power is concerned, where, gasoline, petroleum costs are concerned, and so forth. And the image that he had created had text on it, so it was a meme. And the message was that it isn't the Russian war that's driving the cost up. It's individual greed that's doing it. And his example was that, I don't remember what the exact numbers were. Germany, has like a 55% increase in cost. The U.S., I forget what his figure was. I know that from my own experience, it's probably about a 60% increase. And then the UK, 2,000% increase. And he says, this is proof positive that despite the fact the UK uses only 3% of their fuel coming from Russia, this is pure greed. This has nothing to do with the war between Russia and Ukraine. And
if it was 2,000, we wouldn't be here. We'd be selling our house and coming to America.
I'm sure, yeah. but my point is, he was focused so heavily on, oh my God, we got to blame these people who are so greedy and they're profit takers and all this other stuff. And I was looking at that and saying, well, I have no idea if the numbers are correct, but boy, I don't want to have anything to do with that post. I can tell you that. So I moved as quickly the other direction as I could.
Yeah. There's a question of something I don't actually know the answer to at all. Does the government tax electricity and... Oh, Walt, you're jumping up and down.
I'm getting excited.
Does the government tax electricity and gas?
In the U.S.?
Anywhere. I would suppose in general, I imagine it's probably across.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
I mean, well, here in the U.S., it's usually state or local governments.
Do you know what percentage electricity and gas is actually taxed?
It varies. It depends on the fuel. I know Connecticut, where I live, has a very high tax compared to the other states of the union. And I don't know what the exact numbers are, but our gasoline prices tend to be higher than other areas of the country because of that tax.
Okay.
There is a federal excise tax, and I don't remember what that is, and it's a relatively small tax, and there are other fees in there too on heating oil, and there are various kinds of taxes on electricity generation and electricity transmission, and I mean, you want taxes, they're all over the place.
Okay.
There are lots of them.
No, I was just curious because basically electricity is an essential, I would say.
Sure, that's why you tax it, right? that's the way you think when you're a politician. But I'm just saying that's what politicians do. Is it something you can get lots of revenue from? Okay, tax that thing.
So the thing you were talking about, Anne-Marie, you were saying, if you give out money, more money will come because you know that the space. It's kind of like the flow needs to go. So at the moment, I was thinking, we've paid out a lot of things at the moment. We paid for the solar panels, we paid for this, paid for that, and now I've eventually got my whole solar panel thing set up so we can put it into the grid and get paid for it. And I was on the call to the lady today, and she says, "Oh, for all the trouble you had, we'll give you £50." Oh, that's nice. Oh, the power that you generated last month was £70. It's like, what?
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. I had no idea. Then I phoned up British Gas for one of my properties, and I said, my tenant was here between there, and I need to pay the gap area. How much do I owe you? Oh no, you're actually in credit. We'll send you a check for £80. Like, okay, cool. I have no idea what that £80, what it's doing there or how. I didn't pay the 80, I promise you. But no, it's me and I'm the owner of the property. I must get it. So they wrote me a check. And then what else happened? Something to do with my electric scooter. Then I got money back for that as well. And then there's just money coming from everywhere, all different places. Everybody's paying the money. Like, yeah, nice.
That is nice. Actually, the federal government in this country passed some sort of legislation that I don't know what the details of it are, but if you do something similar if you put up solar panels or, wind capturing devices or whatever. You can get those kinds of advantages. And in some cases, the government will actually pay you to put them up in the first place. And, so there's a whole bunch of that stuff, that same kind of thing.
That's all been removed in the UK. You have to pay for solar panels. You have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
All those incentives, everything, even to get they gave you £450 towards putting an EV charging point in your house. Now they've taken that away as well. So everything just landed just after we started setting up. Everything was taken away. The only thing we got was 20% tax was removed. You didn't have to pay the 20% tax,
which is significant.
So it is significant, yeah. But at least we got that. But everybody else, and before that, got a huge amount more. And we were just slow in the uptake, really. We should have gone much earlier to solars. And they really count. I mean, I'm charging the EV car, I'm running around on the battery most of the time, etc. But, when they're on sunny days, you have to suck from the grid, So, but the amount you send back to the grid pays for that. So,
that's nice.
You still round up even or even making a bit of money. So I'm really chuffed about the whole system. It works incredibly well.
That's good. I can't say that you can actually make more money than you by putting in electricity than you take out, because if you try to do that the way they've got the law written here, you still end up having to pay a little fee. They get to just keep the rest of the energy for free.
Yeah, there's what they call a standing charge. Just being connected, you have to pay £12 a month. So you have to pay that. But just being connected, even if you. But if you only paid the standing charge, you never used any electricity, and you put power into the grid, you will get paid for that as well. Some guys,
that doesn't happen here. That's the part that doesn't happen.
That will happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it does happen.
And there are plenty of people
a lot about it over the years. Since I got the solar panel, not over the year, probably over the last 4 months, but there's a lot I've learned. There are so many bits and pieces to this puzzle.
Oh, there are. It's crazy. My brother-in-law is actually in the industry. He works for a company that provides wind power and solar power and sells it to the grid and all that kind of thing. And he's kept very, very busy. He works kind of on the periphery of it. He doesn't even do the main stuff. He does the IT support kind of things. But even what he does, he gives us like a little idea of it every time we visit. And oh my God, it's crazy. There's so many pieces to it. It's just incredible how many pieces there are. Wow.
I wanted to ask you, was I right in seeing somewhere briefly that America's trying to send a rocket to the moon?
Yeah. Artemis 1. Our first
failed twice or something, and to launch, failed to launch twice.
In fact, it's a program my brother is working on. My brother
is right.
Is it really?
He's a software engineer, and that's the program he's been contributing to. He joked to me recently, I've contributed one line of code.
Did you not say there's a quicker way to connect with the universe?
Didn't you tell them they just got to hand it all over to Elon Musk and it'll be up there in a second?
Well, he wouldn't disagree with that, actually.
Sorry?
He would not disagree with that.
Yeah, imagine.
and they actually see Musk quite a bit. He works in the building right across from the vehicle assembly building on the launch pad there.
All right.
So Musk has come through a few times and he's seen him and I think he was actually in a meeting where Musk was in. So he's had a chance to kind of see the guy up front. But he was also telling me because he's in a job right now where he does not actually do most of the important programming. He gets the junk programming jobs. The ones that the lead programmer doesn't want to do, so he hands it off to my brother. Which is fine for my brother. He said, okay, I'll collect my paycheck. He gets a good paycheck out of it, so what the heck. But when they have a launch day, he and all the others have to be on site in case they need some quick coding on something, which almost never happens, which means they're just sitting there. He's in a team of 3. They're just sitting in a side room off the main control room. There are a whole bunch of these side rooms all over the place there, and they're just watching what's happening. And they are, well, I shouldn't say this out loud because I don't want to get them in trouble, so I won't say it out loud, but let's just say that there isn't a whole lot for them to do, so they have a lot of fun with it. They enjoy it. We'll just leave it at that.
It reminds me when I worked for the BBC, they weren't ready for me. They got me in as a contractor to work on the IT. And this was in Scotland, in Glasgow. And so I went down to the little room at the bottom and I played darts. And I did this for a month and then I resigned. I said, I can't do this anymore. Paid £30 an hour to throw darts. You know, most people would stay, but I just gave up on it. I just couldn't make it.
Yeah, he probably became pretty good at darts.
Yes. Oh dear. It's just, and the guy was annoyed with me for leaving. He was really annoyed. He didn't give me a good, what do they call it? Referral. But I'd already
I can't believe my TV license. I can't believe my TV license just paid for you to play darts. I really.
Yes. No, it was a lot of people's TV licenses paid for the darts.
Well, I'm glad you put the money to such good use.
So immediately from there, I went to, actually, while I was up there, a friend of mine just said to me, I want to learn podcasting. Can somebody chat to me about it? So I said, I would. Mm-hmm. So she said to me, what's the name of your podcast? So Myla's, she was up there in Scotland when I was up there in Scotland, in the BBC. So I just wanted to bring her up. So after that, I went to Ireland and I worked for a mobile phone company in Dublin for 3 months. And that was great. It was a lot of fun. I can tell you stories about Ireland probably for half a day. It'll have to be in another session as we've got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, that doesn't really work at this point, right? 20 minutes ago, probably could have done it. But,
my Ireland story is fantastic.
Well, it's a beautiful country. So, I mean, that's going to give you a good starting place right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, all right. This has been fun, though. I've enjoyed it. And I've been glad that we've been able to have the old style chat, even though we didn't have a guest today. So thanks for catching us up, guys. Thanks for letting us know how your getaway that wasn't a getaway went, Anne-Marie. I was glad you had a good time with your family.
Oh, it was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And Louis, as usual, if we didn't have a story that began, well, I was in the sauna, it wouldn't have been the same around here. So thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Anytime on.
Glad to do it. All right. And thank you to our live stream listeners and to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.